to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Rieta.
And I'm Connie. And today we are here with Naomi Carmen. So, Naomi, how do you deal when shit gets real? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, first of all, to answer the first question, I just take one step and then another, and then
Here we are.
focus. Exactly. And then sometimes just try not to think about it too hard as I go. But
Absolutely.
yes. So I'm Naomi. I always like to lead with where I live just because where I live is so special to me and so important. I live near Emerald Isle, North Carolina. So I'm on
pretty.
the coast. I'm right by one of the most beautiful beaches. And I knew I wanted to raise my kids covered in sand and sunscreen. And I had a fun spiel about how I wanted my car covered in sand, dog hair, check. So, so I'm in coastal North Carolina, and I've got a husband, 2 kids, and 2 dogs, and a box turtle. And fill my days with, it used to be fill my day with working, and I've been able to thankfully kind of rework that. I still work, but I've been able to fill my days a lot more than just work. I get to have a lot more intentional time enjoying my kids and trying to just kind of take some time for me. I very recently, by the way, kind of an offshoot, but very recently started horseback riding lessons.
Oh, awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
Always wanted to do that.
Well, Connie, I used to say the same thing. So
Yeah.
I've gotten my daughter started when she was 2. She's now 6. And I just want to do it. I really wanted to do it. I don't know. I've been on horses. I've done a lot.
Love
and
that.
why not? And I also want to teach my kids that it's never too late to learn anything, never too late to do anything new. So now I do that not very regularly. It's more of a one-off whenever an offshoot, I have somebody that can watch my youngest. So that's what I do. Here, I hang out with my kids. I am a business coach and consultant, and I help anyone from a one-woman entrepreneur up to, I did work with a global company, and right now my largest client is, I think we're a team of 16. So all across the gamut, and I love that. So it kind of just pushes everything, that part lights me up. And then when I get to play with my kids, that lights me up. And then just exploring everything in life. So
it's kind of funny you talked about not being too old to do things, because I just found a gal on Instagram talking about how you're never too old to learn things. And she was particularly talking about ballet, because, most people, when you hear ballet, like, you absolutely can't do it past like 25. And she's like, no, that's not true. She's like, I have a lady that just started who was 65. And I'm like, I love this. This is amazing. Now I want to go dance ballet.
Yes,
exactly.
That is another one on my list. There's an adult class near me. I've never taken ballet classes. I don't have rhythm to save my life. But it is when I'm in a routine where my husband can be home at some point. That's something I'd like to do. So I'm hoping next year I can join the adult ballet class, and by that time I think I'll be 36. And
we just came full circle there, guys. In the first 5 minutes, we're full circle already.
Yes.
Episode over. We need nothing more. All done in I don't even know how long.
No. No, we're going to start on this wonderful journey with Naomi. She's going to take us where she started before she is now. And it all kind of started, I guess, with your sister. So my first thing was, I know you mentioned in your pre-interview stuff how close you and your sister seemed when things kind of went south. Were you always close?
Yes. So I'm very fortunate that my siblings and I are very close. I have 2 brothers and a sister. We grew up in the military and we moved all around. And so, you always switch out your friends, but we were, our built-in friends. And just like any siblings, of course, we had our sibling spats and, our fights and all of those. And my sister would totally torment me as an older sister should. But I'm very close, even with my brothers, very close with all my siblings still today. So when we got the news, so if you want me to hop into that,
go for it.
My sister was diagnosed with stage 3C breast cancer at just 31 years old. And
Wow.
I had visited her. She got the diagnosis less than 4 weeks after my niece was born, her second baby. And I was there when
Mhm.
my niece was born, and my sister was having a lot of pain in her breast and a really hard lump. And, of course, it was thought to have been a clogged milk duct. So, they have all the, massaging it out and hot showers and everything to kind of work that out, but it wasn't coming. So finally went back in. But I remember being there for that. And then I got a phone call, this was again less than 4 weeks later. So probably 2 weeks after I left, that I just remember my sister was very, she was off. When you answer the phone and you hear your voice, you're like, oh,
Mm.
and she
Oh,
wasn't quite
yeah.
even able to say the words, honestly. She just
Mhm.
said, the pain in my breast. I said, yeah. And she couldn't say the words and she started crying. So I was the one that had to say the words of like, is that what this is? She said yes. And immediately I said, do you need me to come to you? I mean, and she said, that wouldn't be a bad idea. And got a one-way ticket and flew back. And so she had a 2-year-old and then a newborn. And so I came in to help, right? So, her husband's working full time. Well, granted, she was on maternity leave then, but, it's hard enough having a new baby and then integrating just, the new baby with a toddler already and then this diagnosis on top of that. So I'm really grateful that I was able to go there and be with her. So I did that and was able to stay there. I think, that first time, I think I was there for 2 months. I went there in September and then I left end of or beginning of November. So for a month and then took a break and then kind of came back. So my mom and I started switching off. So
That's a smart
that is,
idea. They
Oh,
have you
that's
two
yeah,
nice.
switched.
Yeah.
yeah. So it was just a no brainer from the get go. At that time I didn't have a job and kind of like I had nowhere to be. So
Oh,
so why not?
well,
So
that
it
makes
was
things easier.
yeah, it worked out. It really did. I really, I believe in, obviously in the moment things suck, right? But just before this, I was working in a design firm downtown Chicago. I had my apartment there. I was there for 7 years. I built my whole career there. And I hit the wall. I was so unhappy. And it was one of those things of like, how early in the day am I going to cry that day? Right. And
Oh my
it
God.
got to the
Yeah.
point where just one day I was like, I'm done. I have no backup plan, but I am done. And it was perfect timing I had 4 weeks left on my lease. So I had enough time to get a plan, put in my 2 weeks notice, have enough time to move out. And then I moved to the South and moved in with my brother, one of my brothers. And I slept for, weeks on end, just slept, caught up in sleep. My other brother flew me out to go see him for a bit. So we are all, joking that I'm just the traveling sibling, just going from house to house, bumming on everyone's couch. But if you think even about the timing, if I would have renewed my lease, I would have had the whole headache of a whole nother year paying to break it, just all
Oh
that. So
yeah.
it was just so wonderful that I hit the wall, then had enough time to sleep, recoup, and then hop
And
right
then help your
into
sister.
yes, exactly. Yeah. So that ended up working out so well to begin with, for sure.
Was it hard to take care of her? I'm sure it was hard to take care of her, but was there days that you could find kind of a silver lining in taking care of her?
Yeah, so you know, it's funny when you say silver lining. It was hard in the sense that, of course, you're grieving somebody before they're ever gone, right? And that's a tough pill, especially, by then she wasn't even at stage 4. So they were still, you're just hanging on to every thread, but you just have that fear. So I would say the hardest part was, the fear and the emotions that come with that. But then, you're jumping right into a 2-year-old and a newborn. And I was helping, have the baby throughout the night so that, because my sister by then was starting chemo and my brother-in-law was working, it's just, it takes a village, right? So the hard part there, though, was that my sister, she had her time where she cried, but she didn't need everyone around her to just constantly fall apart and cry, right? Which, when you think about it, everyone that came over wanted to just cry their eyes out to her about how much they're so sad for her. And you can't do that. And so one of the hardest parts there was to really compartmentalize my own emotions, because it's one of those things, right? I cry, then you cry, then now you're crying, and then 6 hours later we're still crying. And she didn't want to do, I mean, of course she had her moments and she cried, she processed that, but she stated and she asked people, look, I don't want to do this. I don't want to spend all day crying, right? So she was very intentional we had a lot of cancer-free days. There were specified days. We did not talk about her diagnosis. We did not talk about treatments. We did not talk about anything. We did not talk about life plans. We did not talk about anything related to that. So
that's smart, because then it's not the focus of all day, every day, all day, every day.
Exactly. And that's, gosh, if I could tell, I have so many tidbits to throw at people, but that was something that was just so needed. You need to have your normal times. You need to have moments of just, I mean, yeah, because it's in there in every day. So I would definitely say, that harder part was just, kids are difficult, right? It just, no matter what, young children, especially when you're not sleeping. And then on top of that, just having the fear of the what ifs and really struggling with we have so many options right now. So there is, we're not going to go there, but again, just kind of balancing that. That was really, really tough to do. But on the flip side of that, I mean, I look back on that time with so much joy and smiling. My sister and I had a blast. We had
I love that.
She and I mean, we would go to sleep watching 48 Hours and Dateline, and you have that background, on May 31st of 1968, or whatever, right? And we would fall asleep to that, and we had a lot of fun, and it was almost like we were kids again. And that's something that I appreciate we were able to have despite this really awful thing going on. So at the beginning stages, I didn't see it so much as taking care of her as it was so much taking care of the kids. And then near the end, it was taking care of her, but even that part was, I can't say, I had so much fun with my sister. Even when hospice had come in, and by the way, I learned how to drain a lung. She had the drains in, and the nurses showed us, and then they sent us to YouTube. So I will tell everyone I'm a YouTube nurse. I've literally watched a YouTube video on how to drain a lung. And
YouTube University for the win.
Yes. So we had a lot of fun. Even in the end when she couldn't walk, and, I was brushing, or she was brushing her teeth, but she couldn't get out of bed. Everything, no matter how far she deteriorated, we had a lot of fun. And, that's something that speaks a lot to what her personality was like. And she was determined to, fight it. And she did, she did every treatment possible. She did an experimental treatment. She did everything under the sun, went down fighting. But she, she's 6 years older than me. And like I said, she tormented me growing up. Okay. And she did that until the very end. So one particular part, we set up a hospital room at home. And so we had her hospital bed, and then, I don't know, about 4 feet, and then another couch turned bed for somebody because somebody was with her all the time. So when she wanted to try to exercise, walk, she would try to, with her walker, walk to, the 4 feet from this bed to that bed. And one day she was really determined to do it without her walker. And so, I'm right next to her, and I'm, just being all up in her grill, and she's going, and then she turns around and she's going to go back, and she takes a step and she starts to fall. I freak out. I go to like catch her and I'm just, and she catches herself and looks at me and says, "Gotcha." And I just started calling her all these names and I was swearing at her and, but like we really needed that. And I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" She said, "Oh, come on. Everyone's been so stressed out. I knew mom, I would not have been able to do that to mom." She was like, "I just had to do it to you." So
Your mom probably would have cried.
yes. Oh my gosh. It was just, so even then it's like, I mean, she pulled shit like that. Just all the time. So we had a lot of fun. So I would say like the hard moments were just like the emotional part of it, even, the whole journey, seeing her deteriorate, but then,
and having a new baby too. That's horrible. That's really hard.
It was quite difficult. It was quite difficult for her for sure. Like for all of us, but I like to think of like her perspective of, well, I can't put myself in her shoes, but but despite all of that, we still had a lot of fun. And I think, she appreciated that I didn't let her get away with a lot of things, sisters. We had somebody over visiting and my sister and I we got into it. But again, it's like when you're around for so long, you kind of revert, just like we felt like we were kids again, having a sleepover, we still, I mean, we would snip at each other. We were sisters, and I remember she said something and in front of this other person, I just snapped at her and I was like, "Just because you have cancer doesn't mean you can be a bitch." And like, I mean, just, she could not believe that I had the audacity to say that, but then even then my sister and I cooled down and everything. And then it was still within like 20 minutes. This woman was still here. And then my sister and I, said, "We're sorry. And I love you." And we hugged, and we kissed, and and this woman just like kind of standing here like, what just happened?
No,
But
that's like routine. I feel like that is routine with all of my aunts. I have seen all of that before. I'm like, no, that's how sisters do things for sure.
Your story also reminds me, I don't know if you've seen it, of Firefly Lane, but if you haven't, you should watch it because the end of it, I think you would really relate to the end of it, but be ready to cry.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll have to check that out. Oh my gosh. I have not seen that though.
It's so feel good. I loved it.
Oh my goodness. I'll add it to my list.
Oh yeah. There's always something else to add to that list, right?
Always. I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix. Yeah, Netflix.
It is. It's Netflix.
Yeah. Connie, have you seen
it? No.
Man,
so
my mother leaving me.
Well, it's because my mother-in-law told me to, so immediately I was like, nope, never going to.
No, I promise you it's really good. I binged the crap out of it and was bawling my eyes out at the end.
I also don't really watch a lot of feel-good stuff. I watch like murder documentaries.
I don't usually either. But it was really good. I'm with you guys. I'm with the Dateline, the falling asleep with the Dateline, and Forensic Files and all the things.
Well, like this, ever since having my first son, I cry at the drop of a hat. So I'm like, I don't need any more reasons to cry because I will cry for anything. It could be a commercial about toothpaste. I'll be like, but that little boy. Like, I don't need any more feel-good things to make me cry, even though I shouldn't cry.
There you go. That's like The Office when she's watching the commercial and he's like, "Why do you watch the commercial if it makes you cry?" And she's like, "But he just wants his bone."
Exactly. Like, that is me for any reason. And I'm like, I've never been so teary-eyed when it has become to like TV, because it's always like, yeah, it's just TV. It's fake. And now I drop of the hat. Literally everything.
It must just be a mom thing. You have a baby and your hormones are just never the same.
These hormones.
They're real. They're real.
Real rude. Real rude. I want the Stone Cold Steve Austin back here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On that note.
Yep.
So you not only had to deal with your sister's diagnosis, but you found out also that you carried the gene. So
yeah. So we found out, they did genetic testing on her because she had such an aggressive cancer so young, and found out that she was a carrier for the BRCA1 genetic mutation.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody who hasn't heard about that, if you've heard of Angelina Jolie and her mastectomy, she was the one who made it famous, if you will, using air quotes for those in audio.
Oh,
So,
okay.
what that is, it's, when you don't have this mutation, that's like your body keeps you safe and fights off all these things from all these different cancers. But when you have a mutation, it's those defenses aren't theirs. And you guys, I am not a doctor, okay? So really, my
This is
research,
the dumbed down
yeah,
version. This is the dumbed down
exactly,
version.
yes. So, and there are several different genetic mutations for this. I mean, there's BRCA1, BRCA2, check, and hers, and might be a couple others. But so it's more than just one. But I found out I carried as well. So what that means then is we had an 87% chance to get breast cancer right out the gate. And then
Wow.
there I had, I mean, just if you think about, yes, that's
That's a
terrifying.
huge percentage.
Yes, yeah. And on top of that, a 44 to 60% chance of ovarian cancer. And to put those numbers in perspective, it's usually 1 in 8 women in her lifetime will be diagnosed with breast cancer. 87 is, that's close to 9 in 10. Obviously it's 87%. So it's a lot higher. And with my sister, she obviously found that out too late,
Mm-hmm.
but I found out before I got cancer. And so it was not an easy decision, but I made the decision to have a mastectomy prophylactically. So, and I learned that word too. What's that called? Preventatively. Thank you. Preventatively. So if you have this mutation or, really high risk of breast cancer, then insurance will cover a mastectomy for it. So I got that. And that's something that I really like to educate people on, because if we would have known about this, or even known it was in our family history, we had
Mm-hmm.
no reason to know anything about this, let alone, obviously we've heard of it from Angelina Jolie, but you don't see something on TV and say, oh, I'm going to go talk to my doctor about this. It's also a
Yeah,
very expensive test to get done. So,
Ah,
as
um,
always.
exactly. So I was able to get it because I already had a 50% chance of having it because my sister had it.
because of your sister. Gotcha. So does that
Exactly.
mean when that happens that the insurance is more likely to help you pay for it, or did you still have to pay for it?
They covered. Now, I have TRICARE. I had TRICARE. So I don't know about all the other insurances, but I will say that yes, you're going to have, I had to meet with a geneticist first who did this whole risk analysis and said, oh, okay, yeah, she's at a high enough risk for me to recommend her get this test done. So
Mm.
that was back in 2014 that I got the test done. So I don't know how much has changed, insurance wise, or kind of like the whole gamut of it since then. But that was my experience when I did that. So they gave me the green light. I got it. I got the, news back that I had it. And initially it felt like I had just received a cancer diagnosis. I remember
Oh
just being
yeah.
absolutely devastated. And I will never forget the words of the woman who called me from UNC. She was so kind and compassionate. And she knew my sister's story. She knew that my sister had breast cancer at the time. But she said, Naomi, this is not a diagnosis. This is information and this is a tool. And I remember her saying that. And in the moment, I was like, I'm sure these words will come back to help me in a bit. But right now, I am
Oh
terrified,
yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, but I got those results back. It was either before, like, end of December. It was either in that December or maybe beginning of January. But already March 16th, I already had my mastectomy. We got it done. I say we got done. In total, it was a 13-month process that I went through for 3 different surgeries, and then having expanders in where they're, these bags, and they stick a needle in every week and expand it a little more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And it's extremely painful. And that was something I didn't know about because my sister was not a candidate for reconstruction. Um, but if you tap the end of your elbow, that's how hard my chest was.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah. So it's uncomfortable to sleep on your side. There was no sleeping on my stomach. It was uncomfortable to hug people. Everything was uncomfortable.
It
But
was uncomfortable.
yes.
Yeah.
But I was reminded that it was a healthy pain. It was not a pain of cancer. It was not a pain of a disease. It was a pain that I was living. And in the moments, I really had to think, like, remember that, because it was so painful. Oftentimes just crying. I was in so much pain. It was very painful. And I would like
Is
to throw a note out for people. So many people said, "Oh, but Naomi, you're getting a boob job done." I would like, and something I kind of share is like my icebreaker when I talk to people and everything, because it will catch everybody by surprise. I don't have nipples. Those babies came on off
Oh,
2 scars that go diagonally down where they were. So when people are talking about getting a boob job or anything, the way my surgeon described it is that I look normal with clothes on. Let that
mhm.
sink in, right? So
Yeah.
when I first looked in the mirror when I got home from the hospital, I was sick to my stomach with how disgusting my chest looked. It was like
Oh,
scabby, and just, it was cut up, and you could see like snakes of the drains going through my skin, and it was pretty gross. And it took me a bit to be comfortable with my body. It was, besides the fact that it was very painful, it was gross to look at, even for
and
me.
just for my clarification, were the expanders like in between when you got them removed and before you got new ones put in?
Yes, good question. So the very first surgery I did, it was like 2 surgeries in one. I was in the OR for 8 hours. The first one was the mastectomy, where they removed all the breast tissue and removed that nipple on both sides, 2 nipples. um, and then the second part of that surgery, and then they switched surgeons. So I had 2 different surgeons. So then the second surgery in that 8 hours was the reconstruction process. And that is when he put in those expanders.
Gotcha. Okay.
So from March to November is where they just slowly inflated them bit by bit by bit by bit. And then
Probably so you had the scar tissue, right? So that you would have a pocket for when they. Okay.
exactly. Yep. So it's stretching out the skin, and then it gets a nice little, so a pocket, for anyone that doesn't know, is they're exactly having scar tissue that's going to hold kind of everything together. Now, I have, now it's my own skin, but cadaver skin that went into like a sling that's going to hold everything in there. And it was so cool to think about. I thought,
I watch too much Nip Tuck. Can you tell?
yeah, great. No, it's great.
I do have one more follow-up question though.
Yeah,
Do they have to remove the nipple? Like, is that part of the problem?
that is a great question. Thank you for asking this. So you don't have to, but here's the catch, right? I had the choice to keep them. However, what was explained to me is that at the time, and I don't know, of course, we're in 2023, this is back in 2015. At the time, what I was told is that your nipple is breast tissue, which means it's breast cells. And breast cancer, invades the cells of the breast. And there's not enough research out there to know if keeping the cells of, like, keeping your nipple versus taking it out is going to make a difference down the line. So it was
Okay.
exactly. So what I'm thinking of is I have an 87% chance to get cancer, breast cancer specifically. And if I'm going through this whole process, I wanted to take out, I did not want any
oh
what
yeah.
ifs. I would not have been able to live with myself. I said,
Mm-hmm.
what if? Like, what if I would have just taken them off,
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I could
I
not.
know that each nipple could be like 10%. Lord only knows.
Well, exactly, yeah. And there's
That's
still,
a sentence I never thought I would say.
I know, right? And my risk, even now, if you think about it, my risk still is not eliminated, because cells,
Regenerate.
that you can't get rid of
Yeah.
every cell. But yeah, so it was, so that's how it was explained to me. And it says, it's up to you. What do you want to do? And I was like, lop them
Take
off.
it off. Take it
So
all.
yeah. And so, yeah, so I'm a lot more comfortable with it now. I remember at the time I was like, oh, thank goodness that I'm not dating anymore. And I won't have to go through the dating realm. And let me tell you, having gone through the dating realm post mastectomy, I will have to say that I have had wonderful experiences.
That's good.
Wonderful experiences. Yes.
Did you
So
ever think about getting, I know I've seen it because I used to watch Ink Masters forever ago, and that was something they did is they would tattoo the nipple on there. Is that something you ever considered?
absolutely. So I was really waiting for my scars to fade, but mine are huge. I have very large, they're about, I mean, I don't know if anyone can see, they're at least half an inch wide still.
Oh,
And they're
okay.
a good, like several inches long. And mine have not faded. They're about the color of my lips. So,
Interesting.
yeah. So I was really kind of like, how do we, tattoo a nipple over like this really big, lipstick thing going on.
Well, they can
But so the
actually
original,
like color match you and tattoo the whole thing to blend in with your skin.
They can.
yeah, yes, they are. Oh my gosh, Vinnie Myers. He's a very, if nobody's heard of him, he is. If you Google him, he does amazing. It's amazing. I just yes, I just the scars are so bright and so
You're
big
worried
that
about it?
not necessarily worried, but I just I don't know yet how that's gonna
Yeah.
go. But I've since I'm actually gonna be speaking to my surgeon very soon about doing laser treatment or something
The scar
for
tissue.
to help the scars because
Yeah.
they're not small and they're not again they didn't fade. They're pretty dark.
So
So
do you ever have to like
yeah.
go back and like get your what is it called, the mammograms and stuff? Because even though it's been removed, there's a chance of it still happening, right?
Yeah. So good question. Mammogram, no, but MRI,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So, yep. So what they're going to be looking for then is any changes in the implant, or just kind of anything that comes up on that. But they monitor that via MRI, and that's
Gotcha.
actually something that's going to be happening again soon to kind of
Yeah,
peek on in on them.
how often do you have to
There
get
you
those
go.
done? Like yearly, every 5 years?
Good. You guys have the best
Honestly,
questions,
this is all
honestly.
off the cuff. I'm like,
So,
well, I'm interested now. So,
This
yeah,
is
that's
what
yeah,
we
what this
do.
is. We've talked to a lot
yeah,
of people with medical issues, so we're kind of used to these questions.
yeah. So the answer to that is that it changes based on the FDA. So initially, it used to be every 3 years, then it was every 5 years. That I might be having it backwards. But I'm going to be talking to my surgeon. I don't know what week we're within the next week, and he's going to let me. He's going to give me image again. He'll let me know where we're at with the FDA.
Oh, okay.
But the FDA,
Regulates it.
you just kind of follow
And then
that.
because it's the insurance companies
Did you?
aren't ever going to give you more.
No.
Thankfully, my understanding, just because of my mutation and because of my surgeries, it is to be covered. Now, I will state that I am very fortunate and privileged to have TRICARE, and that's something that
I feel the
that's a
same
whole
way.
other conversation about
Yeah.
insurance
Oh,
and
definitely.
everything. But I recognize that I am very, very, very fortunate, and that so many women
Yeah.
aren't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It goes, yeah.
Did you ever consider not putting in implants? Like, was that ever a discussion, or was there always the plan to put in implants?
So there were other options to take fat from other parts of my body, or gosh, there was a really intense option that was going to have me in the OR for, I mean, upwards of 12 hours, he said, and then in the ICU for 2 days
Wow.
afterwards. I mean, they can do a whole lot of things, and I honestly opted for what is like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
So for me, I wanted implants. I wanted, whether it was implants or something else, I wanted to look quote unquote
Yeah.
normal with clothes on, right? So, and at the time, I didn't have much fat to spare back in the day. So, so I was like, let's do the implants. And, there's so many women that are so brave and comfortable to go flat. And although I'm very comfortable in my body now, I enjoy having my implants. And knock on wood, I hope that I continue to be healthy with them.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
to figure out if
Yeah, good
you're going to go and tattoo and make it look like a regular nipple, or get the laser and get
or the
less pink.
Or you can even, another thing they did on Ink Masters, here we go again, is they literally like, if you're a tattoo person, they literally like tattoo like flowers or butterflies or whatever over the top of it, and then it just becomes a piece of art.
I thought about that too. I had gone into so many different things, and I love the possibility, but that was actually something I considered seriously for about a week. And then I was like, no, I'm not a big, like, for me, I'm not, so
totally get it.
It would be of a nipple, but I've seen that work of art, because let me tell you my search history, okay?
There's a lot of boobs.
There's a whole lot of boobs on
it. I swear I'm not obsessed with boobs. Jeez. FBI, if you're watching, I'm not obsessed with boobs, I swear.
Right? Oh my goodness, yes. So yes, I looked into that. I thought about it for a while. I thought about it seriously for a week, and then no.
I think that episode, if I remember right, aired not too long after I had Jackson, and I remember just like crying because I thought it was the most beautiful thing ever, that they were doing it for these women for free and making this beautiful art, and I'm just laying there on the couch.
No, that's me all the time now, Rietta. Just because I had a baby, it's so rude. I'm like,
it is rude.
So beautiful. I'm like, shut up. Where's the
I'll
cold
be like,
bitch?
are you crying? And I'm like, you be quiet over there.
You did not see a tear. A tear did not run down.
Yeah, you saw nothing.
As I hear my kid go, yeah, in the background. Because he's getting bath time right now.
That's life,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So after that, I mean, because we know we haven't been through enough yet.
No.
You kind of went through 2 deaths: a death of a marriage, and the unfortunate death of your lovely sister. So, how'd we get here from freaking that?
Right? Good. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I ask myself how I did that. So my sister passed when she was 33. So from her diagnosis to passing, it was 2 years and 6 months and 11 days. Not that I know. But it's with that. So she was 33, and when you're younger, people sound so old, right? I remember I lost my cousin to skin cancer when she was 18. And at the time I was like, 18 is so old. Like, she was practically middle-aged. And then you get older.
No,
and so I remember,
all, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Oh yeah. We were arguing at my grandma's funeral. We were like, she wasn't that old. She was 92. She was old. But we were like, no, she wasn't.
She was never old.
Yes.
No, never.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, 33 at the time, even getting at 31 still seemed old to me, because again, I'm 6 years younger. But having just kind of seeing in those 2.5 years, seeing what's really important. And I know that can sound really cheesy, right? And people see it in, you hear it in theory of the important things in your life and what's happened. But I don't think that people understand what that actually looks like in practice, right? And what I found that to look like in practice, right? Or, we've seen the people who have continued to show up, whether it was dropping groceries off at the front step because, a toddler's going to go through milk like you don't believe, or, just like dropping food. And then, but we also saw people that were lamenting about what was going on, but wouldn't drive 20 minutes to come see her, right? Yeah. And then in there, even saying of just like, who sucks your energy, who doesn't. And then really just, I was able to see my sister really prioritize, the kind of letting go of some things. Now, that doesn't mean when I say let go of some things, I always like to have the caveat of, that does not mean that you go, I forgive you for everything you did over here and you're good over there and now we're all best friends, right? But it's kind of just I'm going to focus on what's going to bring me joy. And it was when she had passed, I was understandably, devastated and have been for years. Um, but my marriage was really going downhill, and it got to a point eventually that I was just, I had been unhappy for a while, we both had, but, when you're so busy, I was busy helping my sister, and, there were a lot of things going on. And you kind of have this thing of, you know what, I want to choose my life, and this is not the life that I want, right? And what helped me and what helps continues to help me process my grief is, a lot of people have a hard time choosing good things for themselves, but they can choose good things for others, right? You can choose a better life for your kids. You can choose, everyone can do something for other people, but it's hard to do it for you. So what I chose to do was, my sister lost the opportunity to watch her kids grow up. She lost the opportunity to live her life, and she lost the opportunity to live her life. And so what I decided to do is, I'm going to live for her. And so what that meant for me was, I'm not going to stay in an unhappy marriage. That also means, I even have to talk about even how I started a business, because I lost job after job after job. And that also meant, when I was running and working out, even then, the thing that would really push me as I was running, and like near the end, I couldn't breathe, or I needed to lift another set, and I was just at the end of my rope. In my head, I pictured my sister. Actually, it's kind of like this. It's bittersweet. It's kind of funny, but also kind of morbid. But my sister being my tormentor for life. She loves me more than anything. She's my biggest protector, but she always picked on me, right? She was always just,
Oh,
like
yeah.
to poke, and it was hard for me to see her physical body deteriorate, not being able to walk, and then not even be able to breathe at the end. And so I could just picture her in her wheelchair, literally like poking me with a stick to try to just like poke me.
You can do
Like,
it. Come on.
hey there. Yeah, like, no, don't slow down. No, pick that back up. And just because I
Why
could
are
just
you running so
doing
slow?
that.
Run faster.
Exactly. And it's like, yeah, I don't know if it's more, but I just had this picture of my sister who couldn't breathe. Me like, no, no, keep going. You got this. Like, what are you doing? Can't breathe? So that was just this image that was like always with me, and of course in various forms, but that kind of like just kept pushing and kept pushing. And and then having a daughter, I got to realize of like, you know what, we're gonna I want a better life. So a better life to me is being happy, having my daughter, being raised in a home of happiness. So I, by that point, was working for myself. I had started a business, and that's when I was like, I want to move to the beach. I want to move to the beach. I came here to Emerald Isle for a vacation years ago, and then I hadn't been back since. So I was really hoping it hadn't gone downhill. And picked a place, and we came here, and I figured I'd rent for a year, kind of check it out. I found a fantastic school for my daughter and got a house, and then ended up buying the house I was renting and put down roots, and just turned this into, I came here just, very, very intentionally. I had a lot of people who, when I was going through my divorce, wanted me to move back to Pennsylvania, where I have a lot of family. And of course, I was told it's so hard to raise kids by yourself. You want that support. It's just, people were really telling me, you're really going to struggle if you choose to raise your kid somewhere that you don't have support. And I was like, but I'm not going to be happy in Pennsylvania. Like, I'll come visit, but that's not where my heart is. My heart is here.
Mm-hmm.
And, and then of course you see that life, you don't have that guaranteed anything,
Mm-hmm.
like, you don't have anything guaranteed. So I don't want to spend it in a place that I don't want to be.
Absolutely.
I said, I'm sure it's going to be hard, but I'm going to figure it out. And so I came here, and I just, I built a support system. And even though I don't have family anywhere near, I have neighbors and friends. And I mean, now I have a huge community here where I'm at. And that has really made all the difference for us. And now it feels like family. But yes, that was just a very intentional, just, I'm going to take life and do exactly what I want for me now.
I love that. I love that you made a decision and we're just like, I'm going with this. And if it piddles out, it piddles out, but at least I can say I tried.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So is that where you met your now husband?
Yes. So I met him here. Funny, I was debating on if I was going to share this or not. I don't share this story often. And, but I was
whatever
just
you're comfortable with.
If people are into the woo, they're going to love it. And if they're not, I mean, you can pick apart and figure out whatever scientific thing of how this dream came about. But after my sister died, I had a lot of dreams about her, right? Ton of nightmares, but also some good dreams too. And I had a dream where she wanted me to go back to Pennsylvania. And I said, no, I love the beach. I want to be at the beach. And she said, there's a wonderful guy in Pennsylvania. And she said this in my dream, right? And I said, well, he'd better meet me at the beach because I'm not going anywhere.
Good for you.
Yeah. And it kind of went that way. And I ended up meeting my husband on Emerald Isle, and we were talking for a bit and really hit it off. I mean, we just talked and talked and talked and talked. And then, the whole like, oh, where are you from? Oh, I grew up in the military, blah, blah, blah. And where are you from? He said, well, my family's from Pennsylvania. I was born in the state, but then, I was raised in Pennsylvania. Like, I mean, just this whole thing. And I like, my jaw kind of dropped. I was like, Naomi, don't be weird yet. Like, don't be weird yet. And we weren't dating then, but you look back and in that dream, I said, well, he better come meet me at the beach. And literally I met him on the Western Beach access on Emerald.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
I feel like my tarot card reader friend would eat this story up. She'd be like, I need more information. Like,
right? Yes. It was I didn't tell him about that for a while because, again,
I get it.
Didn't want to scare him off yet. And he still hasn't run off yet. So I think hopefully we're good.
I hope so too.
Right? Oh my gosh. But yeah, so I met him here, and he's active duty and he's gone a lot. So I'm, home with the kids a lot. But, even with this, I was talking with somebody about how even with this, we make the most of the time that he's home, and as anybody
absolutely.
will know, yeah, with any job, whether it's military or traveling, we make the best of it. But that also means that we're so intentional when he's home, and it's made a difference in who you choose to spend your time with, and commitments that I do or don't make based on when I've had to. It sounds so obvious whenever you say just like, of course I had the shift when my sister died of cancer. But when you're looking at things like, okay, well, I could, this friend wants me to go hang out over here, and okay, you guys, I know this is going public, but when you're looking at all the people that you have your acquaintances and you have the people that you will actually really invest energy and time in. And there are some people they have like the coffee. Oh, cool. It's like, I'll see you at Starbucks and we're going to talk for 10, 15 minutes and have a wonderful 10, 15 minutes together. Right. And then I have the people that I will intentionally spend hours with on a weekend. And then there are times that honestly, some people just don't make the cut, and that's not to, that's not rude, but it goes back to looking at my family and, where like sometimes we just need us and need our energy together. And whereas I'm a recovering people pleaser. So in the past, if somebody were to, invite me for something, to say yes, okay. And I would be like, oh, but I have all these things to do and I need to do this, this, and this, but I said yes. And so now I'm not a people pleaser anymore. And it's been so freeing. It's been terrifying, but so freeing and
Little
so
column A, little
necessary.
column B.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. So that's just one of the things of, just one of the takeaways that I got is just really being intentional with who I spend my time with and my energy with. And, you know, um, just every small thing makes such a difference. And you don't even realize all those until you just go through these huge life-changing events. So
Totally relate to that because obviously I'm a military spouse too, and people come in and out because you move or you lose touch or whatever, and things just don't mesh, or people don't understand your lifestyle if they're not a military spouse, and it just, like you said, some people make the cut and some people don't, and that just is what it is. And that might necessarily mean that they're a bad person. They just don't jive with you.
exactly, exactly. I love that. Yes.
Yeah. So to bring it all full circle, you started your business and your nonprofit. So how did you do all that, and what motivated you to do all that?
Yeah. So my business started, even though I registered as an LLC in 2019, but I actually started it back in 2015. So I needed to work remotely after my first surgery. And I initially was working for a company. I was online and I was a VA for them, just even though, I went from being a designer in, interior design and architecture to I just needed anything that could work online because I could not physically move. It was very painful. So
I think
I,
that's what you were doing maybe when I met you. No, maybe not. I guess that wasn't that long ago.
well, I'll tell you how I got into that. I was an OBM, an online business manager, when you and I met. Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
I worked for this company, and as a VA, what they did is they wanted everyone who worked for them to have the same skill set, which meant that even though I could do X, Y, and Z, if not everybody could do this, then I couldn't tell the clients that, and I couldn't do any of that. I could only do something that literally everybody could do. So,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. So I had my hands tied on a lot of things, but then on a Monday morning in August of 2015, we all got an email to our personal emails that the company went under, and last Friday was our last day.
Oh
And
my god! Oh my goodness!
have a good day, like you know. And
Talk about no notice.
talk about no notice. Yes, yes. So at that point they said, you're released from your contracts, which are non-competes, that we can't take your clients because they said the company doesn't exist. Like, we dissolved it. So, okay. And they turned off our work emails, but I had been working so closely with my clients that I had their phone numbers, man. I knew who they were.
Oh,
So
that's
I reached
awesome.
out to them, and they had gotten emails of kind of like, hey, you guys, like, sorry, we're not here anymore. And everyone was just, as you can imagine, it was a cluster. All the clients
Oh,
were like, what is
absolutely.
this? All the VAs were like, what is going on? So I reached out to them and I said, hey, if you want to work with me, that's great. Here's my rate. And also, did you know that I can also do, I know a whole lot about business and marketing, this. And I just like, and they said, I had no idea.
Just,
Why did you say
just an
anything?
FYI.
Yeah. And I said, well, I wasn't allowed to say any of that, like, beforehand. Like, we were not allowed to do any of that. But now that I work for myself, like, these are really strong things for me. So, moved then into just helping them with their sales and their systems and their their back end. Thank you. And then it went from that. So that's Rihanna. When I met you, I was doing a lot of online business management then. And then I really found that I loved really talking with the owners and the CEOs about, like, ooh, what are we going to do to launch this, and how are we going to, like, really, I just love getting into that strategy of, you know, increasing the revenue. I loved, growing the team, and I did a lot of hiring, some firing, and, a lot of that. So then that was just a natural progression to what I do now, which is where I'm a business coach and consultant, and I tell you how to do all those fun things, and I'll meet with your OBM, have them do things, but that's what I do now. And it has been such a blessing because I was able to sit next to my sister in her bed, being able to work and pay my bills and, take care of life and not have to worry about my finances. And I, to this day, I have zero regrets about my time with my sister. And
Absolutely.
that's something that not a lot of people can say. And thankfully, thankfully with COVID, a lot of people have been able to see that you actually can work remotely. And I know that's a whole debate with people wanting to go back to the office and stuff like that. But that's, I wouldn't have been able to live with myself if I had any ounce of regret, right? And I knew that. I knew that. Thankfully, I had that foresight. So, as I started doing this, then I had a lot of people, initially when the people heard I was working online, they thought I was in the MLM because, back in the day, that's what working online meant. And when I wasn't, DMing people, slinging shampoo at them or, whatever else. And they were like, wait, oh, she actually works. And that's not a side of MLMs, but it actually works in the sense of, just working, like having my own clients and having, an income that's coming in from that. But, with that, I had a lot of people saying like, okay, well, I have this really cool idea, but I don't know how to do this. And that it was just a natural progression of that. I was already behaving in a consultant role with my clients, and it just continued on with helping other women, be able to create a business, grow their business. And I was able, when my previous marriage came to an end, I had to get a new car. I had to, I moved states. I moved from South Carolina into my brother's basement in Pennsylvania before my house was ready in North Carolina. So I had all my stuff picked up, shipped, stored, delivered, all these, and I was able to pay for all that. And then I was able to buy this house a year later. And that's, finances, thankfully for me, was something that did not keep me in a bad situation, and gosh, I'm on a soapbox. Okay. I feel, every woman should have the resources to make healthy decisions for herself, for her family, for her kids, for everything. And so then I have a big heart for working with women, and that's not to say you need a divorce, but that's to say, let's get money. Oh yeah. let's bring in more. Let's make it rain. And so it's just, compounded, I should say, when I see just, everything that I was able to do. And when I created that first business, I mean, it's the same business. When I first did that first calendar year, I cleared 6 figures without realizing it. It wasn't until I did my taxes that I was like, oh, kind of just like, did I do the math right? Adding everything up. And so, and at the very beginning, when I said, when shit gets hard, I just kind of like took one step and then another. And, I feel that if you think about it too hard, analysis paralysis, that's what I have been stuck in before. But even when I started that business, it was that Monday morning when I got that email, I made a phone call that day and I said, all right, good news and bad news. Bad news is I lost my job. The good news is I think I'm just going to start a company and I'm going to figure something out. And those are my words. I'm going to figure something out. Mm-hmm. And now we're here in 2023. I can't do them at 8 years. And I have long-term clients too. There's some that I'm still working with from 2015. Now we're in a completely different role, because I started out as a VA because again, back that person, my hands were tied behind my back and I wasn't able to say the things I could. So it's so, besides the fact that I enjoy doing the strategy and it's just something that lights me up doing the marketing and, how we package different things and how you speak to your market and how you even, do team retention in your company, which is another thing I'm doing for my clients. It just, that lights me up and I love doing it. And then just the added benefit is just getting, as Amanda Francis says, getting money into the hands of good-hearted women. And that's just awesome. So as I started doing this, it's always been in the room. It's always been with me is this grief, this anger. I've been very, even over the years when people say, oh, I miss her every day, that would just like, no, you don't, because you can get through your day without crying. And, and
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
very angry. The Naomi that people saw was not the Naomi that was, inside. And I really wanted to do something, but I didn't quite know what, right? And so I just kind of kept doing just left, right, left. And I knew just I'll figure something out, but I didn't know what it was. So in the meantime, what I would do is just always, I always had my sister front and center in the sense of like talking to her and just thinking of her and knowing that something's going to come about. And then in 2020, I was in this networking group and I met this other woman that was like, hey, why don't we, do this little collaboration and maybe we can make a soap line for something for Father's Day. And I don't know, maybe we can do something with the proceeds and, we can donate somewhere. And then that's kind of like where this started. And then we started talking and found out that her mother got cancer from all of the chemicals that were in body products in the 90s. She was able to undergo a ton of, different treatments and a lot of clinical trials. And her name has gone down on the books as having been one of the drugs being successful that's finally made it to market. Unfortunately, by the time her mom had that treatment, her body was so far damaged and so far gone, she didn't survive. So because of that, this friend that I made, her name is Laura, she created a whole, she manufactures soap, body care, lotion, shampoos, everything, and it's all clean. And she's got, kosher labels she's got a kosher line. She has a whole thing specifically for cancer patients if they need it. So we kind of started talking, and I shared about how I lost my sister and even, the products that we needed on her skin while it was going through chemo. And we just kind of had this like
Click.
bing, click. And we decided, why don't we start a nonprofit and we can manufacture the soap? And so we do this. Our nonprofit is buying the soap from, this company that she has. And we created then a whole line. We have a whole lot of different programs, but one of the things we're doing is we chose then to support families facing pediatric cancer. So their children that have cancer. And one question I got asked before, just because I speak so much about my mastectomy, I speak so much about my sister, is where'd the kids come from? Like, why pediatric? Well, we needed some type of common ground, right? And her mom had a different type of cancer. My sister had breast cancer. And one thing that I shared with Laura when I first met her, and that I'm really happy to share with everyone now, is when my sister went to Philadelphia sometimes to get chemo out there with a specific doctor, that ward that she was in was right across the street from the pediatric oncology ward, where all the kids were who were sick and all the parents over there who were just terrified and helpless, right? And just praying and pleading with God and any higher power for their children to heal. And as my sister is literally dying on this side of the street, getting chemo, praying, and just hoping that she can see her kids later that night, she said every time, I'm so glad we're on this side of the street. She would never want to watch her children go through that. And when I said that, it was like, we need to help the kids on that side of the street. We're going to help the parents on that side of the street. We're going to support them with gas cards. So we donate every month to a specific hospital. We're growing, but right now we have a specific hospital that we are donating to in Virginia. We are donating gas cards every month, toll cards that are being divvied out to families who need it. Because one thing that's not thought about is just going back and forth. That we're about to roll out a meal program for partnering with things similar to HelloFresh. Because when you're on the road, you're picking up Burger King or anything that's on the road, and everything. You need to take care of your health too. And we have an Amazon list of toys that we're buying the children and their siblings. because, we're able to look at this whole picture of the child who's suffering is also the sibling, right?
Oh,
Because,
yeah.
there's that whole dynamic. So, so we're supporting families that way. We're supporting, financially with food, with toys, with just because parties to brighten everyone's day. And we have so many programs rolling out in this coming year. And that has been something that has really, really been wonderful to channel my grief into that, right? And
Absolutely.
yeah, and from there, see something beautiful really, really come out.
Mm-hmm.
I had initially before thought like, oh, what if I volunteer in chemo clinics? And there's some things that are just too close to home, right? Way
Oh,
too
God,
Yeah.
and a lot of people, which I appreciate when people reach out to me to, talk about their loved one or themselves that have, cancer. And I will talk to them and encourage them. But sometimes it's really hard. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I will let them know that sometimes it's emotionally too much still for me to really go into that. So I kind of like let them know up front because I'm really great with communication and boundaries. But let them know it's nothing personal. It's not that I'm ignoring you, but sometimes it's truly just really
yeah.
Too
hard to do that.
much.
So yeah, and so it's helpful then to put a lot of energy into helping kids and families who are on that side of the street. And they're, if we can take off the burden of finances, the burden of, I mean, we can't heal their kid, but we're going to help with everything else we can, right?
There you
Mhm.
go.
So,
So what's the name of the nonprofit?
the Sassy Carmen Foundation.
I
Love
like
it.
it.
Yes.
I like
And
it.
the name of that, her mom's nickname was Sassy. And my
Oh,
sister's
cute.
name is Carmen. So that was just, it worked perfectly to do that. So have
Absolutely.
that, the Sassy Carmen Foundation. It's amazing, amazing work that we're doing. And kind of just, with this crazy timing, you guys, after she and I got this nonprofit going and got this set up, her grandson got diagnosed with cancer when he was 9 months old.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Poor sweetie.
Yes, yes. And,
Oh, that's
always
awful.
looking for a silver lining. By the way, you guys, his scans now
Good.
that happened in 2021, I believe. We're in 2023. So 2.5 years later, he is cancer. The scans were clear. I need to clarify on whether that means I need to get, but it was good scans that we got back.
Well, that's
Awesome.
great.
Amazing.
That's wonderful.
And he was stage
Yes.
4, they said, when he was diagnosed 2.5 years
Oh
ago.
my
Oh my
God, at
gosh.
9 months? I
Huge,
couldn't even
like,
imagine.
yes,
That's
it's a
Wow.
huge miracle.
Yes.
But with that, Laura, my co-founder, then was able to she's able to see, because she helps take care of her grandson. This allowed us as a foundation to see gaps that are needed that weren't being filled,
Mm.
that we didn't know
Mhm.
about, because I know I know about breast cancer and I know about helping somebody who's 33 go through it. But for her to be that up close and personal is how we're able to see
The
a lot of
pediatric
gaps
side
that
of
were
it.
supported. Yeah. So then that was able to inform the programs that we're going to have rolling out based on firsthand experience that she and her daughter had to go through. So, and her daughter helps. Oh my gosh, her daughter does so much for our foundation, as one of our very dedicated volunteers too. So yeah, so it just,
gosh,
everything
love it.
is comes full circle, and it just, it's
Absolutely.
it's something that helps kind of push everything forward. And I know that my sister's like, all right, doing good, you know, and I know I'm making her proud with that too.
Yeah, I mean, we went full
Perfect.
circle within the first few minutes. So this
And
is
Yes,
now we
even
came
better.
and now we came full circle at the end.
yes,
Exactly.
yes. You can talk in circles all day.
Literally. So, is there anything else you want to add?
You know, definitely find us on Facebook, for the Sassy Carmen Foundation. I am always, I'm, of course, I love my foundation. So if anybody wants to hook up with me, I am the _Naomi Carmen on Instagram. Naomi Carmen Facebook, and the nonprofit is the Sassy Carmen Foundation. We are always looking for volunteers. So we have put in countless hours. It's all unpaid for us. And, you know, volunteers we have to help write grant applications to get money coming in. Anybody who wants to help fundraise for us and stuff, I have plans for fundraisers for me next year, running and getting sponsored for miles and races that I'll do. Laura and her daughter just did our first fundraiser with a comedy club that was just
oh, that's so
2
fun.
weeks ago. I might be off. Maybe it was last week, but your brain,
I get it.
We're always looking for, anybody that's either wanting to help and participate in any way, whether it's getting our name out, getting funds in. Again, we're registered 501c3, so it's tax deductible. But also, when if there are any specific people that need resources or need anything, we're here. We just want to help as many people as we can, and it's close to her heart, it's close to my heart, and it's it brings us both joy, and it keeps her close with her mom. It just keeps my sister alive, and makes everyone feel good. Okay, who doesn't want to help kids with cancer? So
absolutely,
yep, 100%.
So yeah,
well, thank you for coming and sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed talking with both of you. You're a hoot.
Well, this is how to deal when shit gets real, and we will see you all next episode.